Hola, 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 hola. Welcome. Come on in, come on in, come on in. So, what are we talking about in this episode of The Real God is Not in the Bible? We are talking about God's wife who tried to unalive, get rid of God's wife. Who would do such a thing? Oh, we'll talk about it. And did they succeed in the story? Did they kill God's wife? And five shocking secrets from the Bible about God's wife. Let's get into it. Come on in, come on in, come on in. If you are brand new here, which we have thousands of brand new, amazing beings in our community, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Reverend Valerie Love, and they call me the Divine Midwife of Soul Destiny. I am a teacher of spirituality and ancient mysteries. I have been doing that for 20 years. April of 2005 was my first ever public event after I sold my financial planning practice to answer the call to be an author and a teacher on spirituality. And since then, it's been 20 years. So we're having a great big party, one in Washington, D.C. and one in Dubai. I want you to be there. Listen, I have been teaching for 20 years. Now that deserves a celebration. That deserves a huge celebration. And I expect to see everyone there that I love. Yay! All right, that's at valerielove.com. Now, let's get into it about God's wife. So happy with you Wednesday. Welcome. We are here live every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. This show, this series, um, usually 7 p.m. Wednesday nights, we're on for what's called Witchy Wednesday. This is a series that is devoted to my new book. Let me get it. Let me get it out for you. The Real God is Not in the Bible. This is not the final cover. This is what it looks like right now. It's still a work in progress. Yet you can buy it. Please do buy it. As I work on the paperback, the ebook is available right now. Pick it up at valerielove.com and at christianwitches.com. Go to books. So if you're watching on the Christian Witches YouTube channel, welcome. If you're watching on the Valerie Love YouTube channel, welcome. Now let's get into it about God's wife. Now I want to show you, before we get started talking about God's wife, I want to show you the reference that I'm using for tonight. OMG. Now I have recommended this book many times. You've been with me since the beginning. Oh my God, I love that. I love that for us. I love that for us. Hola, hola, hola. Come on in, come on in, come on in. And by all means, put your questions in the chat. And I also want to let you know that we do discuss these things in the Mystery School. Christian Witches does have a mystery school. It's on the front page of christianwitches.com. So go to christianwitches.com and you'll see all about the mystery school because I'll actually be teaching in the mystery school tonight. Look at this. When God had a wife, the fall and rise. Notice that the fall and rise of the sacred feminine in the Judeo Christian tradition. Woo, baby. And as a Christian witch myself, because I didn't leave behind when I came into my witchy powers and I began to express my witchcraft and my magic and how I create my whole life. My altar is right here behind me. It's not lit right now, yet my altar is right here behind me. I didn't leave behind all the Christianity stuff. And I wasn't going to do that. And I didn't leave behind the Bible. I don't think the Bible's from God. I know the Bible's not from God. I didn't leave it behind. I find the Bible to be a highly valuable book. So when I talk to people and I tell them the real God is not in the Bible, they instantly think that I'm an atheist. I am not. Or some people instantly think that I'm bashing Christianity. I am not. And some people instantly think that I'm bashing the Bible. I am not. I love the Bible. I just know that it's not from God. As a matter of fact, I love the Bible even more now, knowing that it's not from God. What a relief that God is not a narcissist and murderer. What a relief that that being is not God. What a relief. All right. I must purchase this one and must read was Inanna Goddess, Queen of Heaven and Earth. Ooh, baby, let me tell you, we're going to talk about the Queen of Heaven tonight. Now, let me give you a link and let's go on screen share because you know I have lots to share with you tonight. Let's get into it. You know, I have lots to share with you tonight. And family, please, if you are not subscribed to the Valerie Love YouTube channel, please subscribe, because a small portion of people who watch us, well, I won't say a small portion, it's a little less than half who watch the channel on an ongoing basis are subscribed. So I would just love it. It means so much to us if you subscribed, and we would just love that. So if you would like to do that, that would be great. I would love that. All right. Let's go to present. So first, I'm going to take you over to valerielove.com, because of course I have to show you my book, right? Here's where you can get the book. I want you to go to valerielove.com /books. And I'm going to drop a link here in the chat on where you can pick up the book. Now, if you decide to buy the ebook from me, that would be so wonderful. I do appreciate that. Always support authors. It's so wonderful when you buy the book directly from the author, if that's an option. But if it's not, hey, Christy Love Jones, how you loving? Greetings. It's nice to catch your live. Yay! I'm so glad you're here live. And if you can buy the book from the author, if the author presents that or offers that, always buy the book directly from the author if you can. And for all of you who have bought the book, or you can buy it on Amazon. If you prefer to buy it on Amazon, that is A-okay with me. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all of the incredible people buying it on Amazon. It is actually on 2 bestseller lists: Controversial Religious Knowledge. I love being controversial. Now I love that part. And Philosophy and Spiritual Growth. I love that part too. So the book is doing very well. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your incredible reviews. Please keep the reviews coming. This book is new. It needs your review. It's a new baby. It needs your review. Let's get into what we're talking about tonight. So, as always, if you're brand new here, I like to talk about the purpose of this series, because once again, I do a lot of talking about religion and deconstructing, and how it was for me when I was in Christianity, and how I escaped the cult of Jehovah's Witnesses. And people think that I'm bashing religion. I don't bash anyone or anything. Believe whatever you want to believe. It's not my job as a minister of spiritual consciousness to tell you what to believe. It is my job to inspire, to uplift, to share, to love, and to enlighten. That's my job. What people do with that information is completely up to them. And what they choose, how you choose to live your life, also is completely up to you, because you get to create your life. So, why am I talking about this? Why do I talk about ancient mysteries, the Anunnaki, the Bible, the Elohim? Why do I talk about all of these things that are so controversial that you would never hear in church? Because it is important to reveal humanity's true origins and our divine nature, which has been hidden from us in a conscientious effort to tell us a story that is a nonsensical story. The story doesn't hold up, and to provide conclusive evidence that the Bible is not from God. It's not written by God. It's not inspired by God. It's not about God. It is a book about paleo contact. It is a book about nations fighting nations. It is a book about political rivalries. It is a book about the Romans. We haven't even gotten into the New Testament yet. We're still in the Hebrew Bible. We're getting into all of that. It's about a lot of things. It's just not about God. It's about people's thoughts about God. That's not God. And we've got to make the clear distinction. Somebody's opinion about God is not God. What somebody said about God is not God. Yes, I know that there is an infinite source. It's not a person. For me, after many years of meditation, I understand that this infinite source is consciousness, energy. It doesn't have a gender, doesn't have a beginning. It's breathless, deathless, timeless. It's universal. It is all, and it expresses as the all, in all, through all, as all. That's all there is this infinite energy. It's not a person. It's not a big dude up in the sky with no wife. We're going to talk about that tonight. So it's for freedom, and it's to end all wars, and to be a stand for oneness, peace, and goodwill among all people. I pray that my touch on the world is a touch of love. That's what I'm about. That's all I'm about. I'm not about bashing. I'm not about believe whatever people want to believe. I'm talking my experience, right? And that is the book. The real God is not in the Bible, how religion and superstition blinded humanity to the truth for thousands of years. Thank you so much for all of you who have bought the copy of the book. And if you are a member on the Christian Witches YouTube channel or a member on the Valerie Love YouTube channel, if you care to join the channel, you receive a gift copy of this book as well as many of my other books. You receive a gift copy of my new books as they are published. So this is a gift to you if you in ebook form, if you are a member on the Valerie Love YouTube channel or the Christian Witches YouTube channel. Let's talk about 5 shocking facts, secrets about the disappearance of God's wife. Where did God's wife go? Did they rub her out? Was there a hit out on God's wife? One, the history of the Old Testament is pure propaganda. I know that's a big statement. It's not a history at all. The Old Testament, also known as the Hebrew Bible, is a work of propaganda. I'll prove that in a moment. Monotheism was non existent in the ancient world. There is no explicit statement in the Bible of Yahweh as the one and only God. It's nowhere in the Bible. People think the Bible says that Yahweh is the one and only God. No, the Bible doesn't say that. The Bible doesn't assert that. The Bible gives a record of people who said that. And the Bible also gives a record of people who didn't say that or didn't think that. The Bible is presenting you with many different viewpoints from different people at different times, saying different things. The church, the establishment, told us what to think about the Bible. It told us that Jeremiah was telling you the truth when he said there's only one God and that's Yahweh. No, that was Jeremiah's opinion, and I'm going to show you that there were many other opinions other than Jeremiah. So, no monotheism. As a matter of fact, Yahweh was one of the 70 sons of El and subordinate to the higher God, subordinate to El. Yahweh was not the highest God. Now, how does this fit in with the Anunnaki? We know that the El and the Elohim and El Elyon and El Shaddai and all theEls belong to the Anunnaki, right? From ancient Sumer. Those are all the Anunnaki. And Anunnaki was a great family. When I say great family, I don't mean great in actions and heroic in deeds. I meant large and looming in the consciousness of humans. And the Anunnaki had many family members, right? There was An and Anu. An was Anu and Antu. An, also known as Anu, was the big father god, lived in the sky in a space station. His wife, the divine consort, as they call it, divine, his consort was Antu. An, also known as Anu and Antu, had many kids. Enki was one of the sons of Anu, not of Antu. Anu had Enki with another consort, and Enlil was another son of Anu and Antu, and was a son of Anu and Antu, as well as Ninhursag, sometimes spoken of as a sister to Enki, sometimes spoken of as a consort with Enki. This family is almost like the Targaryens. When I look at the Targaryens' antics, I think looks a lot like the Anunnaki. so anyway, so anyway, and some of the major players were and Inanna was Anu's granddaughter. Well, in some stories, she's his granddaughter. In other stories, she's his daughter. So the whole big family, there's a whole big family of them. And the whole big family did not get along. There were warring factions among them, hence the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah in one of their nuclear conflagrations, right? Ninurta did that, not God. So, and I talked all about that in the episode about the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. I described to you exactly what happened. Okay, so in the evidence that we have, the archaeological evidence that we have still on the planet, that there was some high heat, rapid explosion of the nuclear type that hit that land around the Dead Sea, where now is considered to be the location of the ancient cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. Anyway, the L survived for a while, right? Well, survived all the way to today. Over time, over thousands of years, the pantheon changed, right? So as it goes through cultures and people and times, things change. And God, I say, in the real God is not in the Bible, that gods don't create us, we create gods. I'm going to say that again. Gods don't create us, we create gods. We create gods according to what we need, and then we worship them. They come from our own mind. The infinite consciousness source from which we all sprang, we all came from the infinite consciousness. Yeah, we get to make up gods if we want to. We can worship anything we want. Some people worship food, some people worship sex. We make our own gods. And so that's what happened over the years. We have El, and El had 70 sons. So Yahweh didn't come along until much later. Yahweh is fairly new on the scene. And when I say new, only a few thousand years old, considering that humanity has been on the planet for millions of years. Well, some form of us have been on the planet for millions of years. Homo sapien, probably a couple of 100,000 years. So, in the span of 200,000 years, 3 or 4,000 years, or even 2,000 and some odd years is very young. So Yahweh is a very young God. There's no way Yahweh is the creator. Absolutely not. Ask any Bible scholar, is Yahweh the ultimate creator God? No. Except if you ask an apologetic scholar, somebody like Wes Huff, they gotta hold the Christian banner. They gotta hold the Christian story no matter what, no matter how nonsensical it is, they're gonna make it fit together. It's not my stance. Hey, it's just not my stance. The cult of Yahweh, yes, it was a cult called the Yahwists. They reworked parts of the Bible. What? A radical cult reworked parts of the Bible. What? When I found out about the redaction of the Bible, I was gobsmacked. Like, why are we following this book? These are totally written by humans, not just men, because some of the oldest writings from the Bible don't come from men, come from women. And they say the oldest literature on the entire planet was written by a woman. We'll talk about that in another conversation. Number 4, we're going to talk about translation issues when it comes to Asherah or Asherah. And then 5, we're going to talk about the Hebrew goddess that has always been present and still is. Gods and goddesses were worshipped together. What? And I'm going to give you plenty of books, plenty of proof. Number 1, the history of the Hebrew Bible is pure propaganda. Now, let me come off screen share for a minute, because there's something that I'd like to say to us. There is something I would like to say to us. Yahweh's Enlil from the Sumerian pantheon. Interesting. I read that Yahweh was Enlil, Jehovah. Okay. So let me come off screen share for a second. I've got to tell you something. Yahweh is a conglomerate of many different things, because remember, when they came up with Yahweh, they went back and they plastered Yahweh over all of them to make it look like one person. So sometimes it could have been Inanna talking and it comes through as words of Yahweh. Sometimes it could have been Ninurta talking and it comes to us as Yahweh said it. Sometimes it could have been Ninurta was one of the 3 who visited Abraham. Do you remember when they talk about the 3 men who came to visit Abraham, who were quote unquote, one was God? The 3 of them came. But now, one could have been Ninurta, because Ninurta was one of the ones who did the nuclear blast. One could have been Nergal, and one could have been one of the, later on as we get the story is that it was Yahweh, that God came to visit Abraham. But how does God come to visit Abraham and God's feet gets dusty? How is this God thirsty? Abraham goes and gets them water because they were walking in the desert. How is it that they're tired and they go and get some seats for them to sit down? This doesn't sound like a God to me. So Yahweh is really a very complex character because you've got to go through the Bible. It's not as simple as saying Enlil is Yahweh. You've got to really go through the Bible and see who's speaking, what's the scenario. Oh, and this is likely Enlil as Yahweh. Oh, this is likely Enki as Yahweh. Oh, this is likely Ninhursag as Yahweh. Oh, this could be Anu as Yahweh. They plastered Yahweh everywhere. So if you take one being and plaster it over the whole thing, and there are at least 20 Elohim in the Bible, there are at least 20 different Elohim in the Bible doing different things. That's why the God of the Hebrew Bible sounds like a psychopath, sounds like a schizophrenic psychopath. One minute he made God, made people as the best thing ever. Next thing he says, get rid of these people. That's because those two different beings. Inky was the one that made them. Is like, oh yes, I love these beings. And Enlil was like, these beings are horrible. Bring a flood and get rid of them. But both of them are attributed to Yahweh. Can you see why we're confused by the God of the Bible? Because it's not a God of the Bible. It's gods. It's many of them saying many different things. Yet, when it came time for the Yahwists or for the people who rewrote the Bible, reworked the Bible, they were doing this in the 5th century BCE. That's just like 700 BCE. That's when the Bible is no older than that. Some scholars say 1000, 1100 BCE. That is a super young book. And then we find out when we dig in Sumer, present day Iraq. Does that make you wonder about the Iraq war and what they were really after? Iraq or Iran? Let me look it up just to make sure. Because Sumer is modern day Iraq. Yep, Sumer is modern day Iraq. Yes, the ancient civilization was located in the southern part of what is now Iraq. So we even heard it leaked. Yay, baby! Money in the vortex, money in the vortex, money in the vortex. Woo, woo. We love money in the vortex. Gracias. So, modern day Iraq, it made you wonder what the war was about. And it also made me wonder about the military um, staff who were supposedly, purportedly bringing out artifacts from Iraq, ancient artifacts. Now, what if those ancient artifacts are clues to the star people and their advanced weaponry and spaceship abilities, as Ezekiel talked about? Ezekiel described it in great detail. So here you start to understand some of the true drivers behind some of the wars that we have, behind some of the land grabs that we have, behind some of the secret covert operations of the worlds that we have. It's very interesting. Okay, so I want to say that this whole conversation about the Anunnaki, the Elohim, the Bible, ancient mysteries, ancient civilizations is very nuanced. And it's not quite as straightforward and as simple as saying Yahweh is Enlil and Satan is Enki. Because Enki is depicted as a serpent type creature. Yet Enki is also the wise one. And Enki is also the magical one. And Enki is also the super intelligent, witty one, with from where we get gods and goddesses that are tricksters. Every pantheon, pardon me, every pantheon has trickster gods and goddesses. The ones that say one thing and it may or may not be that thing, but they get you to think, right? And the trickster is everywhere. And that is an aspect of Inky's personality. Why? Because tricksters don't want to do what they're told, rightly so. And so they have to come up with a tricky way to still get what they want and not break the rules. And Inky was master at that because they made him swear in the Grand Assembly, spoken of in Psalm 82. They made him swear that he would not tell the humans that a flood was coming. Now, whether the flood was created by the Anunnaki or whether the flood was a natural phenomenon that they knew was going to occur because the alignment of planets and the melting of the polar ice caps, because these people were celestial geniuses, whether it was that or whether it was that they caused it themselves, they swore a pact among themselves that they would not tell the humans, just kill them all. And Inky couldn't bear the thought of his treasured, precious creation. Remember, he was the one that engineered us, bioengineered us. Him and Ninhursag, precious, treasured creation, passing away, especially his favorite, also known as Zietsudra, also known as Utnapishtim, also known as Noah. He had a favorite, right? Noah. We know him as Noah in the Bible. And so Enki swore that he couldn't tell Utnapishtim how this thing was going to come out and wipe everything out, but he could not bear for everything to get wiped out. So he said, how can I get the message to him? So he went and he stood on one side of this is a trickster god for you for sure. He stood on one side of a wall, and Zietsudra, also known as Utnapishtim, also known as Noah, same person, was on the other side of the wall. Same being. We're talking about the same person here. And he said, read wall, read wall. Enki is talking to the wall. He's not talking to Utnapishtim, who he knows is just beyond the wall. Read wall, read wall. Something's coming. Read wall, you need to. And Enki is like, I'm not talking to Utnapishtim. I'm not telling him. I'm talking to the wall. Oh, wow, trickster God, you're good. Because you still get your way. And sure enough, Utnapishtim heard the whole story and was like, oh my goodness. He made a kind of protective vessel that they could get in. And Enki told him how to construct it. And it was a vessel that sort of like a disc-shaped kind of vessel that could float on the water. And no, it didn't have two lions and two giraffes and two, the Bible story, that's a fun fable for children. These people were so technologically advanced, they probably had the genes of everything on planet Earth mapped on one panel. Do you understand how advanced these beings were? They probably had every genetic sample from everything on the entire planet. He said, put the seed, and it says it in the Bible. It doesn't say put all the in. It says put the seed of them on the ship. But we got two goats. He went in Sunday school telling kids little lies, and the kids are like, oh wow, drawing little pictures. Two caterpillars going on Noah's Ark, right? Yes, Johnny. Two caterpillars and two otters and two seals and two snakes. Oh, please. Stop it. How are we going to advance as a human society if we keep staying in the fable mythology aspect of the story without going deeper and saying, what is this story really telling me? I'm not saying to throw out the story. I'm saying to use the story to get to the real truth of what was really going on. That's what I'm offering. All right. So is Yahweh a title? Uh, that's an interesting question. Yay, money in the vortex. Keep it up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Money in a vortex. We love it. That's an excellent question because there was a time that El was a title or a class of beings, Elohim, and then it became something later. But let's see what you're saying about Inky. Was thinking from the draconian, reptilian, Draco star systems. I honestly think that a true creator God wouldn't destroy unalive, precious children, innocent, precious babies. That's exactly right. They would not. They would not. Now, I do not know for sure Inky's origins. I do not know for sure any of the origins of the star people who visited us. We do know this: Sirius was extremely important to them, as well as Orion, as well as Orion was very important to them. Sirius and also the Pleiades. So they could have come from different star systems. All right, now let's get back into our conversation here. Uh-oh, that's not the kind of share I want to do. I want to do this kind. This kind. This is the one I want. Yeah, I think that one's good. No, let me do this one because I think that's going to let you see the whole screen. Actually, no. Okay, my Libra is showing right now. Can't make a decision. It's Libra for you. This or maybe this or maybe this, but this is better because okay. Um so I want to say that the history of the Bible, the Hebrew Bible, the history of it, it's not historical. It's not a historical book. It is a book of propaganda. There is quite a bit of propaganda in there, and it's not it's not political propaganda, it's religious propaganda, because they want the people to do a certain thing. And what's the thing they want the people to do? They want the people to all worship Yahweh. Yahweh, 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 Yahweh. And this is a very recent development. Once again, this was only around 600 or so BCE. So that wasn't what the Israelites were doing forever and ever and ever. This is what they started to do when it got around the 5th or 6th centuries BCE, and they wanted to make reforms after the Babylonian captivity, in Babylonian captivity. And once again, the Israelites were having a very difficult time because they'd already been conquered by the Assyrians, and now they were conquered again by the Babylonians. They were in Babylonian captivity, and they said, we must be doing something wrong because we keep landing up in the wrong place. So let's make a new choice. That sounds reasonable to me. We're going to make everybody follow these rules because maybe we're going askew because everybody is worshiping whoever they want to worship. We got all these gods going around. So the Yahwists became this very radical, and not even a majority, a small cult. That's the power of very small groups of people when they have a lot of high energy. It was a cult, and they were called the Yahwists. Look them up because I am here to inspire you to go deeper into your own exploration of truth, right? So, as the Bible was written so much later, it can never be an accurate description of the original beliefs of the Israelites. The Israelites were around for a long time, going all the way back to Canaan. They were originally the Canaanites. Yes, even though the Bible says the Canaanites were so bad, but the Israelites were originally Canaanites. So when you look at the what's the word, the damning of the Canaanites, we know that this is not the original Israelite belief. This reflected the belief of the radical Yahwists of the 5th and 6th centuries who wanted to rewrite the Bible and who came up with the book of Deuteronomy. Now, number two, I'll say more about that in a moment, because you notice there's a whole lot of laws in the book of Deuteronomy. They invented it. They say they found it when they were redoing the temple, rebuilding the temple. They said, "Oh, we amazingly found this old book of the law, written by Moses." Is Deuteronomy, a whole bunch of laws that the Yahweh wanted people to follow. That's why Deuteronomy never landed on my spirit as being something from God. They made it up. They invented Deuteronomy and then put an ancient writer as the author of it. Moses. It came from Moses, because the people would be like, oh, it came from Moses. Monotheism in the ancient world was non existent. The Israelites were henotheistic, which means that there's a lot of gods, but we serve these gods. And then they were engaging in monolatry. What is monolatry? They were monolaters because they were focused on the worship of one God while still acknowledging the existence of others. No one said that. No one in the ancient world had the bizarre belief that 3 billion or so people have on the planet now that there's one God. Islam, Christianity, and Judaism as we know it today had not been invented yet. No one, the first recorded person that we know of that said that there was one God was who they later named the criminal of Amarna, who was Akhenaten, also known as Amenhotep IV. He was to be named Amenhotep. He was born Amenhotep IV. However, he changed his name to Akhenaten because he was not a child of Amen. They all had theophoric names. So a theophoric name is a name that has the God you worship in your name. Like Jezebel. Jezebel tells us, her name tells us that she was a priestess of Baal because her name is Jezebel. We call her Jezebel, right? So Akhenaten was the first person. So changed his name from Amenhotep to Akhenaten, meaning beloved of the Aten, because he saw this, he had a revelation of like this one presence. And even though people say it was a sun god worship, I don't see it as being a sun god. It looked like I have it. Let me see if I have it with me or if it's in storage. And I'll show it to you. Hold on. Let me see. No, it's in storage. Okay. No, it's in storage. I don't have it with me right here, but it does look like a sun, yet I view it more as a ray of energy, and off of it were rays. Well, he was the first person that ever said anything about there being one God. Now, people are so caught up in the idea, it's a bad idea that there's one God. It's a bad idea. Why is it a bad idea that there's one God? Because we can't agree on who the one God is. These people over here say the one God is Allah. These people over here say the one God is Jehovah. These people over here say the one God is Yahweh. We can't agree on the one God. At least back in the day, we were all okay with everybody having a lot of gods. But now, no, it's got to be my God or I kill you. That's the whole holy wars summed up in one sentence. I mean, this is ludicrous. Why are we still fighting over that? Let everybody have all the gods they want to have. It's not hurting you that somebody over there has a different God than you. People did it in ancient Rome and ancient Greece and ancient Egypt and Sumer. All over the world, they did it. They had different gods. And it wasn't a problem. In India, they said in India, they got over 1,000 gods. Not a problem. And this family may have this shrine to this God, and the family could have a shrine to multiple gods. Maybe one is the head God, the one that they mostly think of and mostly adore and mostly have an altar to or a shrine to. And then there are several other gods that you ask for this, and you talk to this God about this, and you talk to this. I don't see how this is a problem. This is not a problem at all. It's not a problem until humans come along and make it a problem. So we can get the idea of monotheism out of our minds because monotheism was not a thing. It didn't exist. People in church want to tell you that all the way back to Adam and Eve, there was one God, and that is an absolute lie. It's an absolute lie. People had many gods. Now, number three, the cult of Yahweh, the Yahwists, were radical revisionists who reworked the Bible and added the lost book of the law, Deuteronomy, in 1621 BCE. This is all detailed for you. And when God had a wife, a absolutely excellently researched tome, the fact that the Asherah cult is spoken of over and over and over in the Bible, and they are so against Asherah, Queen of Heaven. It conveys the idea that her worship was everywhere. How do we know it was everywhere? And how do we know that she had priests and priestesses to her? And we're going to go into the archaeological record in a moment to prove it. She was everywhere. God's wife was everywhere, Asherah or Asherah, in this portion of the world. I'm not talking about in Africa. I'm not talking about in China. I'm not talking about throughout the Americas because they had different sacred feminine. I'm talking about in the Levant. I'm talking about in the area where we are getting the Bible. Many of us are not even related to these people at all. So I don't even know why we're taking their history as our history. We're not even related to them. Many of us don't even have any heritage at all. So why should we take the Bible as our book? The Bible is not our book, it's somebody else's book. The Hebrew Bible belongs to the Hebrew people, the Israelites, descendants of Canaan. And unless you trace your history back to that, supposedly that book was written for them, no one else. So why do we even? But the Christians lifted it from them and appended it onto our Bible. That's how we got it. We inherited it, but that book was never written for you. Shocker. That book was not written for you. So Asherah was everywhere. And Jeremiah, one of my favorite prophets, I love Jeremiah. Jeremiah said some good stuff, if he indeed did say it. He was a Yahwist. So he was going around, get rid of Asherah, stop it, stop worshiping the Queen of Heaven because we want everybody to be a Yahwist. Is Yahweh only Yahweh, 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 all Yahweh? And they won, kind of, sort of. They kind of, sort of won, except they didn't. I'm so glad the Yahwists did not win the whole game. They won a little portion of it, but you can fool some of the people all the time, and you can fool all the people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time. Truth still comes out. My mama used to say when she was in this life, everything comes out in the wash. So eventually the truth is going to come out. Jeremiah was a Yahwist. Let's look and see what happened in Jeremiah chapter 44, one of my favorite chapters of the Bible, where he is arguing with the women, telling them, stop it. Stop worshiping all the other people. And Yahweh, the God of Israel, he said he's going to kill everybody if you don't just worship Yahweh. And then what happened? Then all the men who knew that their wives burned incense to other gods, they're talking to the Israelites. And the women are burning incense to many gods, to other gods other than Yahweh. And all the women who stood by a great assembly, there's a whole bunch of people. And Jeremiah is up there yelling. He's a Yahwist. He is a fanatic. And it's not surprising that Jeremiah is a fanatic because many of the prophets are painted as very fanatical type people. They're out in the woods, or in the wilderness, they're eating strange things, birds are feeding them, they're fanatical people, maybe like a monk, or maybe like someone who's like a Shaolin monk or somebody like that. I don't call Shaolin monks fanatical. I call them super committed. And so we could say that Jeremiah was super committed to Yahweh. Okay? But listen to what they said. Then all the men who knew that their wives burned incense to other gods. I'm on Bible Gateway. And all the women who stood by a great assembly, even all the people who lived in the land of Egypt and Pathros, answered Jeremiah, saying, as for the word that you have spoken to us in Yahweh's name, we will not listen to you. Okay, so in church, they told you Jeremiah is right. But in the Bible, they're telling you Jeremiah said one thing and somebody else said something else. Now you make up your mind. The Bible didn't tell you Jeremiah was right. The Bible told you what Jeremiah said and what the people said to Jeremiah. What did the people say to Jeremiah? As for the word you have spoken to us in Yahweh's name, you and your Yahweh stuff, we're not with that. We will not listen to you, but we will certainly perform every word that has gone out of our mouth, that we will continue to burn incense to the Queen of the sky, also known as Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings to her as we have done. We and our fathers, our kings and our princes in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem, for then we had plenty of food and were well and saw no evil. But since we stopped burning incense to the queen of the sky, also known as the queen of heaven, and pouring out drink offerings to her, we have lacked all things and have been consumed by the sword and by famine. They like, Jeremiah, we had enough of you. We all been worshiping the queen of heaven. Us, our fathers, our kings, our princes, everybody worshiping the queen of heaven. It tells you right in the Bible that's what they were doing. The women said, when we burned incense to the queen of the sky and poured out drink offerings to her, did we make her cakes to worship her and pour out drink offerings to her without our husbands? No, we did not. They knew. They knew that we were doing it. I want to give you another version of the Bible that tells you in the NIV, it says Queen of Heaven, because in church they love the NIV. So let's go to the NIV because in church they love that version of the Bible. Here we go. And they call it idolatry, those wicked women. Those wicked women. They're with the Queen of Heaven. Ah. Do you see that they're putting a game over on you in church? Okay, let's find the Queen of Heaven. Boom. The Queen of Heaven is right there in the Bible. And what they were doing with the Queen of Heaven is right there in the Bible. We're burning incense to her. We're pouring out drink offerings to her. These are rituals. We make cakes impressed with her image. That means they must have some kind of figurine that they press into the cake to make a cake, or they shape the cake after the Queen of Heaven. Baby, we all about the goddess around here. Don't tell us nothing, Jeremiah. Kick rocks. And lo and behold, Jeremiah was like, well, Yahweh said stop doing that. You would not have had them continuously say, tear down the poles of the Asherah poles, tear down this, and the people keep putting them back up again, tear it down, and the people keep putting them back up again. If, like they try to tell us in church, it was just one God. And this one God, and those little evil people over there, the Canaanites, were the ones that were doing all of this goddess worship. No, they weren't. They were the early Israelites doing the goddess worship. Associate Professor of Hebraic Studies, Saul M. Olian, in his book, Asherah and the Cult of Yahweh in Israel, I'm going to give you the link for this book. He states this: the evidence suggests that no prophet opposed the Asherah or the Asherah, except for those subject to the Deuteronomist influence. The Deuteronomist influence were the ones who were the Yahwist cult, the fanatics who came up with the book of Deuteronomy. Is Yahweh, 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 and they wanted to get rid of everything else. Yet the prophets that were not Yahwists never opposed the Asherah, which is probably why the kings were worshiping Asherah. The matter of fact, I have another scripture for you right here that shows you that the kings, let's go to First Kings, chapter 16, verse 29 to 33. In the 38th year of Asa, king of Judah, Ahab, son of Omri, became king of Israel, and he reigned in Samaria over Israel 22 years. Ahab, son of Omri, did more evil in the eyes of the Lord than any of those before him. He not only considered it trivial to commit the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, but he also married Jezebel. Jezebel is a priestess of Baal, daughter of Ethbaal. There goes another theophoric name. The name of the god is in the name. The name of the god that you're a priestess to or that you are devoted to is king of the Sidonians, and began to serve Baal and worship him. He set up an altar for Baal in the temple of Baal that he built in Samaria. Ahab also made an Asherah pole and did more to arouse the anger of the Lord, the God of Israel, than did all the kings before him. This is a Yahwist writing this. Oh, they're so evil. They're with Baal. They're with Asherah. Oh, these kings are evil. But goddess worship is all throughout the Bible. They tell you what they were doing with the Queen of Heaven, the goddess worship. The goddess is alive in the Bible if you know where to look. Now, in order to get this book, I want to show you this book because I have a few books I bought up for you. And I want you to get this book. I'm going to drop the link in the chat. If you would be so kind as to use this link, it is our affiliate link that helps the channel. Love it if you feel so inclined to get this book. This book is called Asherah or Asherah and the Cult of Yahweh in Israel, written by Associate Professor in Judaic Studies, Saul M. Lyon. So let's go ahead and get you that link. And if you decide to buy it, yay, thank you so much. Let me just put paid link so I can do my proper disclosure. That is a paid link, that's an affiliate link. So get that book if that book speaks to you. You can't make this up. Isn't it the truth? Oh my God. I love this. Nubian King. I love this. That Bible was written by a bunch of drunkards called scribes. Not God. I love it. I love that. Oh my God. So good. Okay. So good. Now let's continue. We need more evidence. More evidence. Now, I'm not quoting people that are not learned in this area. I defer to people who are learned in this area so they can tell me exactly what happened. So now let's talk about translation. Lost in translation. The goddess got lost in translation. What happened? There are translations with the word Asherah or Asherah. When the Hebrew Bible is translated into Greek, we know it as the Septuagint. Latin and English, the meaning of Asherah was unknown. It was unclear. They didn't know what it meant, but it seemed to be associated with trees. So they translated the word groves. Whenever they saw Asherim, Asherim would be plural form of Asherah. They thought, oh, okay, maybe they're talking about groves or something like that. They didn't really know what it was. Now, the mistranslation passed from the Greek Septuagint into the Latin Vulgate and into the King James Version of the Hebrew Bible. And that's how it went on for 2,000 years. No one knew that Asherah was actually God's wife until, baby, the truth will always come out. No matter what they tell you in church, no matter what people tell you, the truth will always come out. In 1928, a farmer was just farming and his plow hit a stone. Well, the stone turned out to be the ancient city of Ugarit or Ugarit. It's in modern day Ras Shamra on Syria's Mediterranean coast. Well, what did they find? What did they find in this ancient Canaanite city? You guessed it, goddesses. You guessed it, God and his wife. Oh my goodness. They pulled out all these tablets from the ground. Now, this is from thousands of years this predates the Bible in the time of the Yahwists, because the Yahwists are trying to whitewash and cover up. Remember, they redacted the Hebrew Bible, so they made their changes. This was before then. Well, they found thousands of tablets, and many of the tablets were about divination and magic. Yet, what they also found that El and Yahweh are not synonymous, and Yahweh may not have even made it to Canaan yet. This is a Canaanite city. It was just El. There was no Yahweh there yet. Interesting. But the goddess tradition was strong there, including worship of Anat. I'm going to tell you something about Anat in a minute, who was the consort of Baal. But now, if you'd love to read some of those ancient stories of Canaan, on what's in those stories about those gods and goddesses, this is the book to read. Stories from Ancient Canaan. I'm actually going to read this book. And this book was a recommendation by Dr. Justin Sledge of the Esoterica YouTube channel. I don't know if you all watch Dr. Justin Sledge. I love him. I love the Esoterica channel. Love it, love it, love it. Now I want to talk to you for a moment about a knot. Let's come off screen share. Does anyone mm, does anyone remember stories of Anat, the warrior goddess who had a belt of human heads? Heads. The warrior goddess that was just taking heads and wore 'em on a belt going around her waist. Anybody know about her? Fierce, bloodthirsty. Okay? Anat. So Anat was Baal's wife. And for a while, Baal was one of the sons of El. But then over time, Baal became sort of synonymous with El. And then Asherah, who was originally El's wife, sort of became Baal's wife. This happened over time, over time, over time, over time. Anat. Never heard of her, but she sounds like Callie. That's right. Callie the Destroyer. Baby, she's spoken of in a story in Egypt that she was so bloodthirsty that she would go on these killing sprees. And the only way that they could get her was that she loved beer. And so she was drinking blood. And so they made her father wanted to stop her, but she couldn't be stopped. Like this one was a terror. When people saw her coming, they would just run and hide. That's all you could do with this one, right? Well, I learned when I listened to you, Valerie. I'm so thankful. Look her up. Look up Anat. Anat. Fearsome. Fearsome. Let me see if I can pull up a picture of her because literally the stories say that she had a belt of human heads. The warriors that she was just taking them down. Well, there's a story of her in Egypt mythology. That's Sekhmet. Okay, interesting. That she was drinking blood and her father got them to make a whole bunch of beer, colored the beer red so it would look like blood, and she was drinking it until she got drunk, passed out, and then they could take her weapons and whatnot and say, "Girl, stop it." Yes, they do have human personalities, right? Are these gods or are these are they archetypes? I view them as archetypes. I view them as aspects of our psyche. And our psyche has that. We know what rage is all about when you just want to take hits. We know what the mother goddess is all about, which Asherah was a mother goddess. She was also a fertility goddess. Because remember, Asherah had 70 children, the 70 sons of El. So El and Asherah were together, the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine. And they had 70 children. And one of those children was Yahweh. And one of those children was Anat. And one of those children was Baal. So Asherah was known as mother of the gods. Okay, let's go back on screen share so we can get deeper into our story about what they found when they found this ancient city. My goodness. Okay, so they're in this ancient Ugarit city, and this is what they found. Not only was Yahweh not around, and how's that going to be when you're supposed to be the God of everything? Clearly, you're not the God of everything. And El was around, and El was the father of Yahweh. El had 70 sons. Yet the goddess tradition was super strong. And alongside the great god El was Asherah. This is what they found in this ancient, ancient, ancient city. His consort. She was the great supreme female deity of all the Canaanite deities. So she's referred to as mother of the gods. So El is father of the gods and Asherah is mother of the gods. That's why the Christian religion, the Islamic religion and the Hebraic religions are skewed because they only talk about the masculine and they don't talk about the feminine as all the ancient religions did. That's why they're skewed. They're half a religion. And I saw a statement that said any religion that doesn't teach a goddess is halfway to atheism. And that's absolutely the truth. Because how are you going to have a God, a father God, and you don't have a mother God? You can't have it. That's why these religions are so skewed. That's why they're so warring. That's why they're so angry. That's why they're so demanding and judgmental. And they do not have the tempering of the divine feminine in it. That's not what they teach openly, even though the divine feminine is in everything. So the Bible rewriters continue to warn the Israelites away from Baal, which means get away from Asherah too. Okay? Now, eventually, El, Baal, and Asherah all get put into Yahweh. Isn't that something? So not only did they want to get rid of Asherah, they wanted to get rid of El, they wanted to get rid of Baal. So you can't say they just wanted to get rid of the divine feminine. No, they wanted to get rid of anything that wasn't Yahweh. All the gods that ain't Yahweh gotta go. That's what we inherited. And I would desire to disinherit us of that because it is a rotten inheritance. And you don't have to accept things people give you. Let's end with this one, number 5. The Hebrew goddess. What? The Hebrew goddess? Yes, the Hebrew goddess has always been present. In 1967, Raphael Patai, a Hungarian born American professor of anthropology, published a book titled The Hebrew Goddess. He was way before his time, and Harvard did not like that. In which he presented evidence that the divine feminine has always been present in Judaic traditions. So he looked at the Judaic traditions and he traced it back and he said, oh, the divine feminine has always been in the Judaic traditions, but now they're trying to tell us that it was never there. Of course, it's noteworthy that the Harvard establishment attempted to debunk him. Yet, William Dever, or perhaps it could be pronounced Dever, I don't know the correct pronunciation of his name, so I apologize if I'm saying his name incorrectly. One of the world's top biblical archaeologists has confirmed that Padai's book was 30 years ahead of anything else on the subject, and the new archaeological data that I present only confirm what Patai knew all along about the existence of a Hebrew goddess, that the archaeological record bears testimony to the fact that God had a wife, always had a wife, and had a wife in antiquity for thousands upon thousands of years until a rogue cult of Yahwists tried to yank her out of the picture, along with the other gods they tried to yank out of the picture. They didn't care that it was a woman. That wasn't their issue. They yanked all the rest of them out the picture. I keep hearing from patriarchs, they tried to take the feminine out of the Bible. No, they didn't. They tried to take everything out that wasn't Yahweh because they tried to take Baal out too. They were even more ferocious about Baal than they were about Asherah or Asherah. Oh, let me give you the link to this book, The Hebrew Goddess. Ooh, child, if you want to read these books, where do they put wisdom in books? Because they know people are not going to go there. They know people are not going to read the books. They're just going to go to church and they're going to do as they're told. And they're just going to, right? They're just going to go to church. They're going to do as they're told. They're never going to study anything past church. This is a paid link. Thank you for buying with Amazon. If you desire to, I got out of Islam in 2010. Oh my goodness, that's amazing. You should have debated against Wesley Huff. You should have, oh my God, let me see what this says before I give you my final conclusion and we wrap up this live stream. You should have debated against Wesley Huff instead of Billy Carson. Wesley Huff would not want to see this witch coming for him. No. But I send him love because he's just doing the best he can to try to keep that Christian story going. But baby, it ain't like they say. It ain't like they say. It's just not. All right. Oh, the God spell. Hello. That's what it is. It's a spell. That's exactly what it is. And happy new moon in Aquarius. How you loving? How you loving? Valerie is modern day in her song. Oh my God. I love that because Ninhursag is actually one of my favorite of the Anunnaki. She's like my favorite. Super smart, super genius. She's like, okay, we're going to splice these genes. We're going to get these humans. We're going to get these midwives over here. Like super smart, super feminine, super intellectual, super all of it. She's my gal. She's my gal. Yahweh, Jehovah God is good to me. Amen. Oh my God. I'll pray for you. Poor thing. I'll pray for you. Don't mess with Kais. Soul Whisperer. Soul Whisperer. Don't mess with Kaisi. You know, James, let me share something with you, James. This is blasphemy, sister. James, let me share something with you. If truth is blasphemy, call me a blasphemer any day. If truth is blasphemy, blasphemer number one right here. Raised my hand. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Thank you for truth. Nobody should get upset over the truth. But when I was in the clutches of the Christian religion, when I was in the blindfold of the Christian religion, if someone had told me other than what I believed, that Jehovah, God, was the be all end all, but he got a son, but he don't have a wife, nobody ever asked any questions about that. I did. But wait a minute, all of y'all here, y'all have kids, yes? And you got kids by your wife, yes? God had a kid, yes. God's kid came here to save us, his son, yes. How did he get a son with no wife? Ah, nah, he created him. Okay. But the part I don't understand is that God created us to have a male and a female get together and make a kid. And God said that we're in God's image. But I was confused. I was confused because the story wasn't added up. Martin said you put 69 and 2 together and you get 103. I don't know. I got nothing for you. It's not making sense. And people hate to hear that their religion doesn't make sense. Yet it just is what it is. It just is what it is. Thanks so much for sharing information and knowledge, wisdom. I'm so appreciative. I'm so gratitude. I'm so grateful you're here. I am so grateful you are here. Yes. Oh my goodness. Jehovah God sent his son Jesus Christ for us. Oh, poor thing. If that's what you want to believe, go for it. You go for it. 2 thumbs up. You go for it. I saw a meme on TikTok. By the way, if you don't oh my goodness. The truth is out. Yes, I'm not spreading hate. I'm generally wondering what. Yes, yes, you're in the right place because we don't spread hate either. This is a community of absolute love and truth. It is very difficult to let the scales fall from your eyes when there are things that we have been taught for thousands of years by people in our families and clans and religions and religious houses who loved us and they believed the same thing and come to find out that the things they told us, they just weren't true. Period. End of story. It just wasn't true. And the more we examine and the more we study and the more we say, wait a minute, Dionysus and Jesus look like twin brothers. Wait a minute. Sargon of Akkad and Moses look just like this story. A baby in a river on a baby in a basket on a river. Well, that's Sargon of Akkad. That's Isis in Egypt before Moses. This is a recurring story. Wait a minute. Noah, none of those stories are original to the Bible. They just aren't. We have older versions of the story, and the stories say different things than the Bible gives us. The Bible is not history, the Bible is propaganda and mythology and allegory and astrology and paleo contact and kingdoms rising and falling. That's why I love the Bible. It's some of the best literature ever, and it is humanity's book. That's why I love the Bible. Let's conclude. Let's conclude. Oh my goodness. Israel, they don't know that Yahweh is not the most high God according to the Bible. Absolutely. Absolutely. Ooh. The Christians have a rough awakening coming. The more we've been, excuse me, the more we've been diving into the information, this is readily available information. Nothing I am saying is not readily available to read in books that are public, readily available. Christians can ask the AI, readily available, right? Yet it's still hard to accept that Moses never existed. It's still hard to accept it. It was hard for me. Yet I had to rip the band-aid off. Like, do you want to be comfortable, Valerie? This is what I had to ask myself. In the lies that you've been told because they're a nice, comfy blanket? Or do you want to rip the blanket off and really find out how far down this rabbit hole goes, Neo? Or do you want to take the red pill and just go back to sleep? You'll never know anything happens. Some people are like that. They're like, you know what? I can't deal. This is too much truth. Let me go back to sleep in the matrix. And they make the deal and they go back to sleep in the matrix. And they're like, I know this steak is not real, but I'm in the matrix and I just want to stay in the matrix. If they want to stay in the matrix, let them stay. That's why I just bless that person who said what they said. Bless you. Stay in the matrix. But as for me and my household, we are looking for the truth. What really happened? What happened? And I find out that a lot of things did not happen according to how I thought they happened. Let's wrap it up with this. Let me give you the final conclusions. Are we ready? Are we ready? Oh, let me give you this book. Did I give you the link to this book? I think I did. I'm going to put all the links under the video as well to all the books. And if you would be so kind as to get the books through our affiliate link, that would be amazing. You are amazing. I love you, family. All right. Here's a quote from the book When God Had a Wife. In view of this is by Raphael Patai, who wrote The Hebrew Goddess. In view of the general human, psychologically determined predisposition to believe in and worship goddesses, he says humans are psychologically predispositioned to believe in goddesses. Why? Because we all came from a mother. We know the divine feminine. It would be strange if the Hebrew Jewish religion, which flourished for centuries in a region of intensive goddess cults, cult of Isis, cult of Hathor, cult of the Queen of Heaven, cult of Inanna, cults of the goddess everywhere. You cannot go down a road without a temple to a goddess. Aphrodite, all of them everywhere. It would be strange if the Hebrew Jewish religion, which flourished for centuries in a region of intensive goddess cults, had remained immune to them. There is no way that we would reasonably think that the Hebrew Jewish religion, among all these goddess loving worshipers, goddess priestesses, would not have a goddess at all. Of course they had a goddess. Of course they had a goddess. So here's my conclusion. Even though there was an attempted murder of God's wife by a fanatical cult, it was an attempted murder. The sacred feminine is indestructible and abides in our hearts, as does the sacred masculine. The sacred masculine and the sacred feminine lives in everyone. It's yin and yang. It's an ancient symbol that when you actually, there was an interesting scientific experiment, and when they mapped like a certain sound, I think it was a certain sound, it formed a yin yang pattern. It was incredible. Yin and yang is inside of everyone. Both are alive. The sacred masculine and the sacred feminine, both are alive, flourishing, cherished, and endure forever. You cannot kill the sacred goddess. The goddess is indestructible. Okay? Indestructible. And if you have any of my books, please, 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 please leave a review. All right, now we're going to end with this. We're going to end with this. You know, I'm not here to tell, like I said earlier, I'm not here to tell people what to think. And I am not here to say that I don't have a religion. I'm a religionless minister. I'm not here to promulgate a religion. I'm here to get to the bottom of what really happened on this planet. There are a lot of unexplained mysteries on this planet, and we just got to get to the bottom of it. Indestructible, right? My gods are my parents, a man and woman. I never thought of the absence of God's wife and always knew he had one of my parents are married and created in his image and likeness. Very nice. I love that. The Bible is a summary of ancient texts. Absolutely. Thanks so much for connecting the dots. I've been a long time subscriber. Keep up the fantastic work that you're doing. I love that. I'm so glad, Rodney. I'm so glad. And to all of you, remember, if you're not subscribed, please do subscribe to the Valerie Love YouTube channel and the Christian Witches YouTube channel, because a lot of our viewers are not yet subscribed, and we would love it. I'd love to see you back here next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, where we're going to go even deeper into more ancient mysteries and topics. And please leave in the chat any things that you'd like us to cover in our Wednesday night live stream. So we're going to be here next week, Wednesday, Ancient Mysteries. I'm trying to make it to the History Channel. So come on, let's get this channel over 100,000 subscribers. I want to be on the Mystery Channel. I want to be on the Mystery Channel with Greg Brayton and all of them, and talking about those things, because I have been watching the History Channel and ancient aliens for years. When I say years, I mean like over 10 years. So I want to be on TV and on the show, and I'm saying it, and that's what I'm going to do. So by all means, subscribe and show up here every Wednesday night and bring your comments and your studies and what you found and your recommendations, and put it in the chat. We'll all learn together, grow together, love together. I love you. Mwah. Peace. Kaisi out, Valerie.